MaXXXine. Your agent tells us you're quite a popular name in adult film and entertainment. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I'm going to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode. All right, guys, jump into the film review. We're continuing on with A24 month, Brian's favorite theme ever, with Brother Mike's pick. Mike, go ahead and announce your pick.
Yeah, this was a close call because if this wasn't out last week, we'd be doing something completely different. I think we would be doing Tusk, if I'm not mistaken. So that would have been the
it's coming.
There. But,
don't worry.
But we're doing MaXXXine instead. Very excited to complete the Ty West X trilogy there. I will say I picked this movie because I will not accept the life I do not deserve, but also because I really love his trilogy. I think Ty West and crew do a great job. I will say this one's very different than the other two, but Pearl's very different from X. And I think they're all just a little different in flavor, and each movie has a little bit of everything that you would want. Just general overall thoughts. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Upon a rewatch, I would redo my rankings to probably make it last behind Pearl, but they're really close. Kind of depends on the mood I'm in, I think. Do I want to watch Scarecrow fucking or not? It's kind of the mood I have to be in. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. I think Mia Goth is great as MaXXXine. As usual, I think the acting all around is actually really, really good. Shout out to Kevin fucking Bacon, who's phenomenal in this film. He's such a smarmy
Kevin did what to the bacon?
Heyo. Fucking Bacon.
Now we're back to Black Mirror.
hey, you're not wrong, Brian. You're not wrong. I don't think his name was Kevin, but somebody fucks some bacon. Anyway, no, overall, very different. You could almost go on and call this movie not horror if you really wanted to. But I do. I think it's horror. I mean, the damn film's about the making of a horror movie half the time. So a lot of very insider Hollywood knowledge and stuff that I think maybe plays to some people not so well, I guess. But great characters for the most part. I have some nitpicks about a few characters. Great acting overall. Love the way the movie's shot. And I'll see a lot of people complain about the ending. I'll save my full strength thought, but I didn't mind the ending as much as some other people did. So that's why I picked it. Very excited to talk about it because I love this trilogy from start to finish.
This guy's nuts fall out of his nutsack. I think it's definitely horror.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Brother, I don't think they fell out. I think they were assisted.
I said they didn't fall out. I said,
brutal way.
Hey, Dustin, we call that driver assist, buddy. It's a driver assisted load.
All right, I'll go next. Mike, I'm right there with you. I really love this trilogy as well. To me, though, this is third for me in the rankings, and it's, I won't say a distant third, but there's some space between this and X. I do enjoy the movie, like you mentioned. They're all three very different, and that's just a compliment to Ty West to me. Like, you made three very different horror movies within 2 to 3 years. I think that's really impressive. Shout out to Ty West. Shout out to, A24, the theme of this month, for, believing in him and Mia and green lighting this and letting it happen. Mia Goth is great. Like you mentioned, that's what we expect. We expect her to be great. I like some of the side characters, but that's one of my biggest things is like X, like you love that whole cast. Like this one just they're kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
They're kind of just there to me. And I'll get into that later. But like you mentioned, Kevin Bacon is great. I enjoy this movie more and more upon, rewatches, obviously, because after my first initial watch, I think I was kind of like Brian after Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I was like, yeah, it was all right. It was good. Like, it was satisfactory, but I wasn't like mind blown. But, once you go into the movie again, you know what the story is. You can just appreciate what you're seeing. And I do, but I will say this is definitely third for me in the ranking, in the trilogy.
Wow. So I'm actually the opposite. I actually said in our instant reaction we did, and I stand by it. This is my favorite in the trilogy. And I don't do this a lot, but on this one, and I'm even going to go back to when we reviewed Pearl, episode 261, don'tgooutthere.com. But after I rated X an 8.5, I was severely disappointed with Pearl as a whole. So I actually love that this one totally ignored a movie that I agree with Dustin from what he said last week. And we touched on it a little bit. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be included between these two, to be honest. Like if you did X and then MaXXXine, and then maybe you went back and did some sort of prequel that maybe wasn't Pearl, but you did a prequel about the villain of the first movie. Like, are we going to get a Kevin Bacon prequel here or an Ernest Miller origin here? Like, that's where I have trouble thinking, like, why is that movie even in there to me? Like, but regardless, this movie I liked a lot. Definitely my favorite of the Ty West movies that I've seen, which honestly only includes these three and Cabin Fever 2. I keep trying to watch VHS, and for some reason I just haven't. So not a lot to go on there, but so far this one is my favorite. And so far we're 2 for 2 in A24 month for ones that I like.
Damn right. We love to hear it. I'm with you, Brian. This is my favorite in the trilogy. And I'm going to say this now to preface anything I say on the rest of this episode. I meant to go back and re-listen to our instant reaction, and I didn't. I forgot. And I don't remember anything I said on it. So if I repeat myself, if I say something different, tough shit. So I love this movie, man. It's Ty West made 3 movies that are so uniquely different, yet somehow fit together as a trilogy. And when I say that, they fit together as a trilogy beyond just character overlap. Like they fit, they really work together. I was trying to think of another trilogy like that. I mean, even if you look at Fear Street, you got 3 different eras there, but they're tonally very similar. These movies have different tones, all 3 of them. And so I can't think of another trilogy, or if you want to broaden it out and do franchise, I can't think of 3 different movies that fit together that are so uniquely different. And that's a huge testament to Ty West. I've also said before, if there's one thing that motherfucker knows how to do, it's capture an era. Him and Robert Eggers, best in the business when it comes to that. And this movie was a lot of fun. And I saw it in the theater when it was out. I was happy to watch it again for this. This movie is one that is definitely going to go in my heavy rotation. I love it. My biggest negative is I got a fever, and the only cure is more Halsey.
I know you're going to say
that. There wasn't enough Halsey in this movie, man.
Honestly, that's a legitimate complaint, even though I know you meant it one way. I do think her character is cut short in this film, but I'll say that.
I was going to say, isn't that what Mike said about Kid Cudi and X, that there just wasn't enough of him in there?
No, it's not what I said. Damn it. Suck my ass again. Second time.
Brother, we saw him standing in that doorway. There was plenty of Kid Cudi. There was plenty of him.
There was plenty of Kid Cudi. Oh, sassy ass. Anyway, so I want to touch on something Brian said, because I understand what he's saying with the Pearl edition. My thought has always been the reason that they made Pearl is it only works for you if you care about that character in X. So, for instance, if you care about the character of Pearl, like you become invested in the little bit of the story they give you there, they tell that story in Pearl. There's connective tissue between Pearl and MaXXXine. They have very similar backgrounds, very similar upbringings, very similar dreams, very similar aspirations in life. And I think they're telling the story that Pearl's didn't fucking happen, obviously. And by the end of this movie, we find out that MaXXXine makes it. So I just think the only reason it's there is to connect the tissue. Now, if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. I totally understand that.
To me, it's not that it doesn't work. It's that, we know she doesn't make it. She's an old geezer living on a fucking farm.
Sure.
It's a very well-made movie, and it does tell that story. Don't need it. Don't care.
Right.
Like, to me,
I think that's most prequels.
It would be the same. It would be the same if they gave us, after this movie, they gave us a backstory on MaXXXine's dad, because he played.
That's what I'm saying.
He played just as much of a role, and so, why did he go down this path? What did movies do to make him hate him? So
I would argue that's any prequel, pretty much. Like, I would almost argue any prequel is like that.
Nah,
and that's normally my stance, because I think most prequels are answering questions I wasn't asking.
So Prey is a prequel, right? Because it takes place a long time ago, and it's the best in that franchise.
Yeah, I think so too.
This Pearl would have been. You don't think so, Nico? You don't think Prey's the best in that franchise?
No, the original Predator is way better to me.
Wow.
Woof. I think that if this movie was released in chronological order, I would appreciate Pearl so much more.
I think that's fair.
Exactly.
And that's fair.
I don't think so, personally.
That leads into my question, and you guys, this is a genuine question. Like, did Ty West have this planned out to begin with, or did he do X and then Pearl and then decide, okay, well, now I want to continue? Like, do you guys know the answer to that?
From what I've read, Go ahead, Nico. Your answer may be more correct.
I've watched Ty West's interview on Screen Dreams with James A. Janice Barbara and Catherine Corcoran. He went into detail on that. You know, him and Mia were plotting up the Pearl prequel while they were doing X. You know, we talked about that in our previous reviews.
Right.
But he was pitching, you know, he had MaXXXine in mind already as well, but he wasn't going to make MaXXXine if they didn't make Pearl. Like, he wanted Pearl because they already had the settings, they already had the staff, they had the cast, they had everything there in New Zealand or whatever. And A24 actually didn't want to make Pearl at first. They wanted to do MaXXXine, but he's like, I kind of want to tell this story. So I recommend you go listen to that podcast. It was really good. And I actually have a story from that pod that I wanted to share as well.
I do agree with Dustin on this 100%, and I don't usually, but if it would have come out in chronological order, I would have liked it a lot more as well.
Yeah, because then Pearl wouldn't have been an established character that I didn't care about. It would have been the characters in the first movie, then fast forward, and then she kind of hands the franchise off, and then MaXXXine takes off. That works better for me. That makes me care about Pearl more, because if I hadn't seen X and liked it so much before seeing Pearl, then Pearl wouldn't have been a letdown. It would have been like a step up, and I'd appreciate it more, I think.
James told Ty West, like, during his X kill count, he got some backlash for saying that Howard and Pearl were sympathetic characters. Not that they're justified for what they're doing, but, like, James himself said that he's scared of dying. He's, you know, scared of growing older, you know? He's like, he knows, like, that one time, like, down the road, you're going to wake up and realize you're old and time has passed. And I think James put it in such great, like, he explained how I felt, like, and perfectly in words. And that's why I did have sympathy for Pearl's character. Like, you could tell, like, she just, and that's why I kind of connect to Pearl a little bit more. I'm not trying to get too, like, boo-hooey here because I'm not crying or nothing, but, like, the Pearl character is relatable to me because, like, people, like, sometimes you're stuck in a life that you're not super happy in, or, like, you realize, like, your dreams didn't come true, and it's like, that shit sucks.
Yeah, no, it's no fun. No, it's no fun.
I just love the portrayal, and I'm ready to talk about MaXXXine whenever y'all are.
Yep. Yeah, let's do it, because I could go an hour talking about Pearl. I could argue with you on that one all day. Go ahead.
All right, well,
you'll lose, but we can do it.
Oh, jeez.
Embrace the
I've got the scene by scene tonight, and hopefully I do this justice because I know how much Nico and I love this trilogy, and it's just the worst feeling in the world whenever someone you care about lets you down. So let me just hopefully I do
That's
this
okay,
justice.
brother. We've all persevered through a rough patch lately, so we'll be fine.
All right, we open up with an adorable young MaXXXine dancing for her daddy for a church function over projector footage. Finishing up with the line we've come to know from MaXXXine Minx, "I will not accept a life I do not deserve." We then get a title card in the form of a quote from Betty Davis. "In this business, until you're known as a monster, you're not a star. We flash to 1985, where a 33-year-old MaXXXine enters an audition for the lead in a new horror film. We find out it's titled The Puritan 2. She explains that she's auditioning because porn can only take her so far, and she's not where she wants to be just yet. She wants a rich man's, like Mike Settle has, life. I'm pretty sure that was exactly what she said, actually. So, exactly, I said Mike Settle too. It was weird. She kills the audition, and then on her way out tells everyone in line that they're wasting their time because she just fucking nailed that audition. And we get a montage of MaXXXine in her Mercedes convertible cruising the streets of Los Angeles while overlaying news stories from 1985, including the Night Stalker murders. We pan out to a normal 16:9 ratio as MaXXXine pulls up to a strip club / porn studio called The Landing Strip. Fucking fantastic name. Co-star Amber James invites her to a party in the Hollywood Hills where she politely declines. MaXXXine proceeds to take a hit of cocaine out of what may be the biggest fucking jug of booger sugar I've ever personally seen. Now, I don't know if Dustin can attest to that or not, but me, anyway.
First of all, I love the way you describe drugs, man. She takes a hit of cocaine. He makes a joint. Like, this shit.
I'm not. Hey,
The marijuanas.
she does the cocaines.
Yes.
Trust me. Later that night, MaXXXine answers the phone, and it's her agent, Teddy. He tells her that she didn't get the Lizzie Borden movie, but that she got the Puritan movie. She immediately heads to the video store where her friend Leon works to tell him about getting the movie, and then heads to her second job on Hollywood Boulevard, a live peep show. There, a mysterious man from the Matrix movies, apparently, in all leather, pays a fucking quarter and watches MaXXXine dance with noticeable rage or horniness. At this point, we can't really tell. We cut to later that evening where MaXXXine meets another friend, Tabby, who also invites her to the same party that Amber mentioned earlier. But MaXXXine declines again due to a fitting. She tells her it's a horror movie, and this set of scene ends with Tabby telling her, "You ain't going to the top in no horror movie."
All right, in case anyone missed the reshowing of X in late June, the opening scene with young Maxine in her audition was a sneak peek. It's a fun way to tease your audience. I love the quote from Betty Davis, like Brian read, "In this business, until you're known as a monster, you're not a star." I think that's great. And I'm sure everyone noticed, or I'm sure we'll all touch on it, but it's worth pointing out that she's doing the exact same dance moves that Pearl did in her church audition. Dustin and I said in our MaXXXine sneak peek show, Brian, were you there? I can't remember. Mia Goth has an X factor, and she commands the screen, and this audition scene is a perfect example. I think she deserves credit for her southern accent as well, especially if you know what her real voice sounds like.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. It does crack me up. She acts her ass off in this audition scene for a part in Puritan 2. The "can we see your breast" line, that cracks me up as well, considering it was right after she just acted her ass off for this audition. And she's a porn star. You haven't seen them? MaXXXine has incredible charisma, telling the other ladies to go home. She just fucking nailed that. And the power walk back to her car. And the license plate is the title card. I loved it personally. I love the opening in Late Night with the Devil, recapping the times in the 70s. And I love it here as well with the Night Stalker talk, Hollywood being evil, war, music. I thought it was great. If someone told me that the opening credits, they take a bit too long, I wouldn't argue with them, but we're following my girl MaXXXine, so I'm invested through that entire walk through the studio. A thing I really appreciate from Ty West and Mia is she shoots down all these party invites around rich guys or big shots because she has to work. MaXXXine wants to earn this herself, and I admire the hustle. She does not have soft hands, brother. I feel MaXXXine struggles so much in this exchange with Teddy. Real talk, though, how the fuck are we supposed to get experience if we never get the opportunity for a job? Like, that's a complaint that we have in 2024, for Pete's sake. It just brings me back so much nostalgia, seeing all the VHS covers, the aisles of movies. Good times to a good time in life. The music playing is groovy as hell as we get to MaXXXine's next job as a dancer. And not to brag or flex or be that guy, but I did guess during this part that I think it's probably her father who's watching her. I didn't know that he was going to be making a movie, but I kind of had a feeling it was her father. And Mike, you kind of made that point when we did the trailer reaction. Maybe her dad would be involved. So good call on that. It's good to see Halsey on screen. Like I mentioned in our Spiral review, I think it's dope that these huge celebrities love horror movies and they want to be in them. I did think that Tabby was hating, though. You definitely can make it to the top from horror. I thought it was a fun set of opening scenes. I had a lot to say. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good.
Yeah, wrap it up. Just kidding.
Hey, that's good life advice, buddy. Anyway, I'm just saying, buddy. I love this opening, honestly. And I think, the Betty Davis quote, you've already touched on that. But even with young MaXXXine, like I had seen a snippet of this online, and I do think it's, or at least before I saw the movie, and I think it's very on point. We talked about Pearl in our opening. There's a lot of callbacks to the movie Pearl, especially in this opening. You got young MaXXXine dancing here, doing the same Flappy Bird arm dance and whatever fucking thing that Mia Goth was doing the Pearl thing. Pearl did not kill that dance. I don't care what the fuck the people online said. That dance was ass. Anyway, I think this audition scene's one of my favorites in the film. It's so good. I can imagine this taking place in the 80s like it does, with with someone that's coming from the adult entertainment world, kind of in this awkward space. No one's taking them seriously. She fucking knocks it out of the park, and then they ask to see her breast. Well, that sounds kind of smutty, but it's also the Puritan too. So, like, you're going to probably show your boobs in this movie at some point. So I understand. I do think there's some symbolism, if you recall, back to Pearl, where Pearl's kind of sitting nervously waiting in line to do her audition, as opposed to the confident energy that MaXXXine has when she walks out of the audition room past all the other people that are there and tells them to fucking go home because I just wrapped that shit up. I thought that was cool. I think this montage of the 80s, 1985 and everything was really good. And we're going to touch on the Night Stalker a little more later. I have some thoughts in my closing, but I from the trailer and other stuff we saw before I saw the movie, I thought it would be done a lot differently than it is. I thought it would be a much bigger part of the movie for sure. But I do think, opening interesting there. That is a lot of coke. I actually agree with you, Brian. It's quite a bit of a bump there, man. Anyway, shout out to Giancarlo Esposito here as Teddy in a fucking crazy wig. I think it's a really cool character that he does. And you mentioned the VHS stores. I thought the same thing, Nico. To see the store lined with all those cool movie covers, little versions of the movie poster. Oh man, it's something we'll never get back. You trade it for immediacy, but it is that experience that you'll never get back that I always thought was really cool. That's why I hated when Blockbuster went to those generic ass Blockbuster covers. You guys remember those? Fuck that. That's lame. Give me the fucking movie cover, man. Anyway, the live peep show part of this is interesting, and I know they exist, but not in this way. Like, I'd never seen anything like that, I guess. Like, is there a thing where you can just go and, I don't know, beat yourself off to this fucking thing? All you gotta do is put a quarter in? Like, that's kind of weird. All right.
Why do you want to know?
I'm just curious.
Overseas, brother. I think Amsterdam.
Asking for a friend.
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
I will say that, to my knowledge, yes, those did used to exist in America. And also, if Pee Wee Herman would have went to one of those instead of a regular fucking movie theater.
Shout out to Pee Wee Herman. He's no longer with us.
That's true.
Yeah.
Shout out to Halsey. It was cool seeing her in this role. Like Nico mentioned, to see these kind of crossover celebrities in movies like this is cool for us fans sometimes. I do have a problem with Halsey's character. I touched on it in my opening, where there are some weak side characters in this movie. Unlike Pearl and unlike X, I do think there's a couple steps down as far as the side characters. Like, MaXXXine has friends. We don't get to know a single one of them, really, except the guy at the movie store. So I do think that's a minor nitpick. Overall, I love this set of scenes, though.
All right, so I absolutely love the open with it showing young MaXXXine and her dad. Just fantastic shit there. Great quote from Betty Davis. And then we flash forward to the present. I love how it's done. The choice to show MaXXXine walking in from afar into the audition, that's a nice touch. And, yeah, they did show this as this was the sneak peek when Nico and I went to see X. And I think it was a perfect sneak peek. What I mean by that is it showed us enough then to get us excited, but I like that it was literally the opening scene because we didn't waste. We got that out of the way, and then we didn't have to see it once we got invested in the story. So very well done there. Her audition is incredibly done. Elizabeth asking if that's her real accent. That's great to me because she has a British accent, and in real life, Mia Goth has a real British accent, so I thought that was cool. Great comedic touch for them to ask to see her breasts after such an emotional performance in a line reading. Like, she just turned it off and he's like, sure, okay, here's my titties. I love the opening credits, and the score is phenomenal. Shout out to ZZ Top. Side note, this is not the first movie I've seen that features a scene in a strip club with "Give Me All Your Lovin'" playing, that would be Beverly Hills Ninja with Chris Farley. And
Nice.
Great font choice. And
Yes.
the montage was well done. I know, Brian, you're a font guy. You loved it just as much as I did, if not more.
Yes.
Very 80s, just perfect. And I love that, when she's walking out of the audition there's a sign behind her that's like, it's not the focus of the shot, but it's there, and it says they're looking for the X Factor. That's a great callback to the first two films. The opening credits also reminded me heavily of American Horror Story 1984, which we recently reviewed on DGOT, the series, which you can find at don'tgoouthere.com. And it was so funny because we were still reviewing that show when I saw this in theater, and I was like, holy shit, this is so perfect. Like, they both knocked it out of the park. And then, a cookie jar full of cocaine. That's wild. That's a shit ton of nose beers, man. Like, holy shit. I love seeing Giancarlo Esposito in this movie. He's such a great actor. I will never get mad at him getting roles because I think for so long he didn't get enough roles. Like, he's so much better than the amount of stuff he's been in. But his wig is terrible, though. His wig was fucking awful. Side note with him, we just recently saw Abigail, which he double-crossed, like he was in on it. So that was in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, shit, is he going to be involved in this? Is he going to be a bad guy? Spoiler, he's not, so sigh of relief. Another side note, man, I really miss video rental stores. Yeah. Like, I'm a big physical media guy. Nico, I know you are as well. But, like, just something about going to the video rental place. I can still smell Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And I appreciate, the streaming services, the convenience of being able to watch anything in your own home. I mean, hell, some people even own the movie Blu-ray and then still just rent it because they don't feel like getting up out of bed.
I knew this fucking guy.
But I really hope that somehow, and I know it'll never happen, but I hope that somehow, someday, video rental places come back.
Everything's cyclical, brother.
It is. The Peep Show, that scene is well done. I like how they don't show us the guy. Like, it keeps it very mysterious and tense. And then right after, we see my favorite part of the movie, Ashley Franklin, or as you know her, Halsey. I wish she was featured more, but it's glad to see her. It's good to see her making the crossover to movies. Really solid opening scene. I love it already.
Old man, shout out the cloud here. I'm going to have and say I had no idea who Halsey was. Sorry. No idea.
It's okay. I just want to throw a quick fun fact out there. MaXXXine's giant Coke bowl is actually a goose as a nod to Pearl. I like
that. Yeah. Symbolism.
Nice.
That's my dad used to have a couple of cookie jars that are like that, like the ceramic animal that you pull the top off. And my mamaw did too. I can't remember. One of them, I'm pretty sure, has a goose cookie jar.
Oh, nice.
So my new mission in life is to get that from my mamaw and fill it with cocaine. Fill it with cocaine.
This guy.
Not to use, just as hey, this is my shrine to the movie.
Okay, pal.
This is movie-used cocaine from MaXXXine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pure cocaine.
All right, we got a lot to set a scene, so bear with me here. Tabby jumps in the cab when it came near, and the license plate said fresh, and it had a dice in the... Oh, my bad. From the cab, though, Tabby invites her to the party once again, tells her to be careful walking home, and then drives away. As MaXXXine walks home, she takes a route through a back alley in Gotham City, it appears, passing another TV with a news broadcast warning against that very thing due to the Night Stalker. Just then, we are shown another figure start to follow her. She comes to a gate by the street, which she finds is chained and locked. When she turns around, she's confronted by the man who pulls out a switchblade. As he approaches, he tells her she can run and hide, but will never get away. She pulls out a gun and points it at the man, telling him to drop the knife. He begs for his life, saying he was just playing around. She proceeds to then tell him to strip naked, get on his knees, and then suck the barrel of the gun like a dick. She then has him lay down on the ground, face down, ass up, and tells him that the last person that tried to kill her, she crushed their fucking head. She then uses her boots to smash his nuts, causing his testicles to literally come out of his scrotum. So now that we got that mental picture, we cut to early the next morning where she's cuddled up on the couch with Leon. She hears a knock at the door and finds a package containing a VHS tape left for her at the door labeled for MaXXXine. Upon watching it, she realizes it's the porn film her and her dead friends had attempted to make all of those years ago at Pearl's barn. Leon wakes up and startled MaXXXine retreats to the bathroom to hide while Leon puts on his earphones and heads home on his Marty McFly skateboard. Watching them outside, we now enter a car where we see Kevin Bacon's John Labatt discussing with someone in the back seat the price for doing business, and we recognize the same leather gloves from the earlier at the Peep Show. We are shown another clip of a videotape where someone in a tux opens the closet, showing us Tabby and Amber tied up along with others in a closet. We then cut to a live view of Tabby being drugged into a room with green doors and approached and killed by the man with leather gloves. The next day, MaXXXine is having a live cast of her head done for the Puritan movie. While sitting in the mold, she begins to panic, reliving feeling Pearl's hands rubbing up and down her body, and falls backwards in her chair. We then cut to a cemetery where we meet detectives William and Torres, who are shown Amber and Tabby's bodies, both of which have been branded with satanic symbols using a cattle prod. Back in the studio parking lot, MaXXXine gets in her car and lights a heater. She's given a script and told that Liz wants her back on the lot for a meeting. Leaving, she finds an envelope on her windshield with a number to call for a good time and what appears to be a yearbook picture of MaXXXine as a child. She makes the call and is invited to meet John Labatt on the 36th floor. She does and is basically informed by Labatt that he is a private investigator, that her previous crimes will be revealed unless she meets with his employer, telling her she must appear at a specific address on Starlight Drive later that night or risk repercussions. He says he doesn't care what she does, but contrary to popular belief, there is such a thing as bad press. All right, go ahead, Nico.
All right, bear with me. I kind of went hard in this one, got a lot of notes. I appreciate Halsey wishing MaXXXine safety. I just called her Halsey because she's not in the movie that long. With how dangerous the climate is. And I really think that Halsey is a better friend to MaXXXine than MaXXXine is to her, which is pretty obvious later on we find out. Nice touch having MaXXXine put her cigarette out on Theta Bara's Hollywood star. It's an obvious callback to the previous films, the alligator being named Theta and Theta Bara being the star in the picture shown at the theater in Pearl. I love this alley scene in the theaters. It was amazing. It's shot so well. It feels dangerous from a woman's perspective. But MaXXXine is like a sprained ankle, nothing to play with. That nut crush, it made me squirm, but this fellow deserves it. Low-key wish we could see the Puritan. Maybe this will be Ty West's next project. I'm all for it. I must imagine MaXXXine's heart sinks into her gut seeing the police evidence logo, then her sex scene with Jackson on her TV. And honestly, I thought on my first watch, Leon was going to be killed when he leaves on his skateboard here right now. We meet Kevin Bacon here, and he commands every scene. The accent as John Labatt is incredible. I think Kevin Bacon is phenomenal. Tabby and Amber act their asses off in this horrific scenario. The only qualm is it does stink that Halsey is killed off so early. I was hoping she'd hang around a little bit longer. Getting your head cast, it looks incredibly claustrophobic and straight up not a good time. This is the first scene I remember thinking, I like how they're approaching the trauma with MaXXXine. The entire film isn't centered around it, but they are acknowledging it's there. Lucky MaXXXine didn't crack her skull falling backwards like she did in the chair. It's kind of a nitpick to me, to be honest, how it's shot, and she has no injuries. I don't know if I buy that. Michelle Monaghan, I know Dustin was thrilled seeing her come on the screen. You can see the disgust all over. You can see the disgust all over her face as the coroner says it's sad these girls are dead, but only because they're pretty. Not surprised, though, the coroner is played by Toby Huss, who was Mike's personal favorite, Ray from Halloween 2018. It must be awkward being a porn star trying to move into a new career path. You gotta feel like everyone's seen you naked or perform the sex. No clue why MaXXXine turns her windshield wipers on to get the note on the windshield. That made no sense to me, but she got hands, though, because she snatched it real quick. And whether you like this movie or not, I don't think you can argue how charismatic and well-acted Kevin Bacon's character is. He's got a lot of great one-liners. I highly recommend watching the movie just for him. If you want to see him play a character I've never seen him play. Unrelated to the film, Bloody Marys. They're disgusting. I have no clue how anyone enjoys them. All I see is acid reflux. I thought it was another great set of scenes, especially Kevin Bacon in this.
Hey, retweet that. They're fucking gross.
Facts.
Yeah, man, I think this back alley scene, I said about the audition, but the back alley scene is one of the best scenes in the movie because of the tension, how suspenseful it is, how scary it is. it's not like this man has the world's biggest knife either. So the fact that Maxine takes out a fucking gun and makes this guy essentially her bitch, I thought was a great way to play the scene. He tries to, I was just playing, which I thought this guy acts this scene really well. He cowards really quickly, really well, especially when she tells him to get face down, ass up. For real or really? I can't remember which one he says. He thinks she's playing. She is not fucking playing. The suck this big gun, which is not what she says, but you know what I mean. I think it's pretty fun. But then we get to this. Back up. You mentioned the trauma from X, Nico. I had that in my notes where they touch on it. It's talked about. I think the word trauma is used one time, and that's actually referring to her in the audition. In the opening where they're talking about the character's trauma. But I do think obviously there's some symbolism there, because Maxine has clearly experienced something that's pretty horrific with Pearl and everything that happened at the farm. They touch on it. It's not the main focal point of the story, though. But I do think it is layered in there really nicely a couple times here. Look, man, this, it would be sad if you were Maxine to open up this tape and see yourself having sex from like a weird POV perspective. It looks like crime scene video. Like, just, man, got to be the worst, like Nico said. I always forget that movie's called The Farmer's Daughter. But now this movie makes me want to go back and watch X now that it's been a complete trilogy, which I have not done. I definitely want to. Kevin Bacon is fucking great. His accent being from the Bayou is awesome. That New Orleans kind of twang to him, I think he does a great fucking job. The scene where they make the cast of Maxine is honestly makes me claustrophobic. It's pretty terrifying. I think they do a great job making it all goopy and gooky and not perfect because she's sweating and freaking out and having an anxiety attack because of the trauma. Shout out to Bobby Cannavale, who's he plays an Italian guy in everything he's ever in.
An Italian cop in like everything.
Yeah, I was going to say some kind of New York City Italian cop and everything he's in. I think it's pretty fun. The scene at the hotel with Kevin Bacon, and maybe I'm the only one that thought this, probably so, reminds me of the scene where they set up Mr. Chow in the third Hangover. The same setting and everything. I thought was pretty fun. Shout out to No Press is Bad Press, because I actually agree with that. If you're getting press, someone's talking about you. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, so very spooky score and great tension when Maxine is walking down the street and into the alley, especially when we see the guy follow her. I think that was a cool shot because it's shown from afar. We see him in the background there. And then, seeing the gates locked, just great tension there. But she more than handles herself. The most painful scene I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, you already talked about his nuts being assisted on the way out of his body there, but I did laugh when he goes, what? When she told him to strip. Like, I'd have probably done the same. Like, I'd probably have the same reaction. You're not expecting, she just pulled a gun on you. She's like, now strip. I'd be so confused. The videotape, great subplot. The way it was delivered was creepy, and it was a great way to tie in her past with the present. I do have a question, though. Knowing what we find out, did her dad edit that tape? Does that mean he watched his daughter's porn? That's gross. What the fuck? Gross. We get Kevin Bacon next, who absolutely steals every scene that he's in. Some of his best work, in my opinion, and that's saying a lot. Like, he's a great actor, has been in a ton of shit, but he absolutely nailed this role. I love how the Night Stalker storyline is just another thing that happens to be going on. They did a great job at keeping us on our toes about what's happening. Like, is he the one that's behind all these murders? Is he behind Halsey and the other girls' murders? Very well done. And the fact that we don't see who Kevin Bacon was talking to or who was in the peep show, like, it makes that a possibility. So it's like, okay, is that who hired Labatt? It's very well done. Her freak out when getting the head mold is well done. Shows that she's still dealing with her demons. So great way to tie in the other movies that preceded this. But right after, the low light of the movie, Michelle Monaghan, aka Maggie Hart. I sighed. I let out an audible sigh. Her partner, Bobby Cannavale, though, that's great casting. This movie's about breaking through barriers, and I said it on our instant reaction. I wonder how many roles that he's been passed over because he's basically been typecast as a cop. He even says in this movie that he wanted to be an actor. So I think it's great casting and character direction with him there. Great scene with Maxine and Labatt at lunch. Advances that storyline nicely. It's just another great set of scenes.
All right. Maxine opens the envelope left by Labatt, and it's a newspaper clipping about the Texas porn star massacre. Upon returning home, she is tracked down and questioned by Detective Williams and Torres regarding Tabby and Amber, but she refuses to answer them. And don't worry, Maxine, we saw what Michelle Monaghan did to Woody Harrelson under the moniker of Maggie Hart. We wouldn't trust her either. In her apartment, Maxine grabs a VHS and heads down to see Leon, asking him to please track down any possible lead on the VHS tape she was given. Back at the studio, she meets up with her director, Elizabeth Bender, who gives her some advice while also showing her the house from the Psycho on the back lot and telling her to meet with Molly Bender from the first Puritan movie to help show her the ropes. After the meeting, she notices Labatt following her. She exits the vehicle and beats the fuck out of him using keys as brass knuckles, leaving him a bloody mess. She busts into her agent Teddy's office and tells him about everything under confidentiality about the farm murder 6 years prior and the private investigator after her. Teddy says he's in charge and going to handle it all. To go home, learn her lines, and keep her mouth shut. Later that night, she does just that. And after another line of the cocaines and her gun next to the bed, she begins learning the script for the Puritan 2. Meanwhile, at the video store, Leon kicks out an old man looking for more than just a VHS, and then the killer proceeds to murder Leon with the knife from Rambo 2, stabbing him multiple times and proceeding to pull out his cross earring before exiting the store.
Before I get started, y'all think I've seen Rambo 2? Of course not.
Yeah, of course.
All right. The only Rambo I've seen is the new one, like from 2009 or whatever.
That's the best one.
It is the best.
Awesome.
I'm surprised you saw that one.
That movie was badass, low key. All right, back to Maxine. Texas porn star massacre. I love the headline. I'm sure all of us did. I think that's how you do a really good reference. I'm sure it has nothing to do with it, but it is cool that Michelle went from a detective's wife 10 years ago in True Detective to a detective 10 years later in this movie. I thought that was a nice touch. Yeah. Bobby Cannavale, I got to be honest, I'm not familiar with your game, but I feel like the man oozes Riz as a cop. Brian, Riz is like charisma. Like that's what the young kids call charisma. Maxine, rule number one when asking favors, you don't be a dick to that person. I'm honestly not sure what the point of asking where the tape came from serves, and it's not fleshed out, so this could be cut, honestly, to trim the runtime a little bit. Dustin made that point in our reaction, and I agree 100% with it. The security guard here, he might have changed his mind on it, but I still agree with it. The security guard here is Larry Fessenden. I really appreciate this cameo. On the Screen Dreams podcast, Ty West revealed that Larry was the one who helped him get funding and start making movies early in his career in New York. And Larry, he's a horror legend, low-key. He was in Jacob's Wife recently with Barbara Crampton as well. Elizabeth Debicki is someone else who I think does a fantastic job in the film as a director. I think she portrays the strong, up-and-coming female director perfectly. The Bates Motel, something that really got attention in the trailer. And I think the scene with Maxine being haunted by Old Lady Pearl is fantastic. And as you were reading, Brian, I was thinking about the Bates Motel. I'm wondering, is Maxine being haunted by Pearl, or is she being kind of like inspired by Old Lady Pearl to accomplish her dreams? I just thought of that, and I'm starting to think maybe it's inspiration and not truly haunting. Elizabeth has such great on the nose dialogue that relates to Maxine throughout. If we all look in the mirror, we all have demons. I thought that was a great line from her. Her hard-nosed attitude telling Maxine, this is great, you've made it here, but this is just the beginning. You got to stay focused. I really like Elizabeth Debicki in this. I think her character is really good. Maxine punching John with the keys when in her fist was a badass scene in the theater. We haven't seen a rivalry this good since All of Us versus reading the scene by scene without stuttering. Respectfully, Giancarlo Esposito, he kills it in his role as Teddy. He's had several fun roles this year, like you mentioned, Dustin. I also want to shout him out in Abigail. I thought he was really fun in that as well. If I'm ever in need of a lawyer, I hope I have someone like Teddy. This man is cooking with fish grease. I love Leon's death scene, not because he's killed, but the lines Maxine's reading along. They fit so perfectly with what's going on. And I thought the gore was really good.
Yeah, not as I don't have as much on this set of scenes. I think the Texas Porn Star Massacre was really fun. Probably a double nod there. One, because it's a catchy title, but also I think pretty clear the first X is inspired very heavily by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one. I mean, even downright to certain shots, the way the movie was shot. I think it's a fun little thing from Ty West there for sure. Finding out where the videotape is from is lost on me as well. Like, I'm not really sure where that was supposed to go. Some kind of early version of hacking. Like, again, I wasn't alive in the 80s, so someone that was can correct me, but I didn't even know that it was possible with the VHS to find this out. So that's kind of interesting. I'd never seen that kind of technology before. I think the Psycho House, which, like you mentioned, got a lot of attention in the run-up to the movie, is almost underutilized. I'll explain it later in a scene. I think it could have been used a little bit better if you really wanted to hit something on the nose. But I do think it's fun that it's there. Obviously, they're the universal backlot. The backlot's everywhere in this movie, and I think that's kind of fun too to see that in this particular setting. I think Elizabeth Debicki. Sorry, I'm trying to eat and do the podcast at the same time. Elizabeth Debicki's actually great in this role. I really do. Probably one of the stronger characters in the film besides Maxine. Very fleshed out. Has almost a modern character in an 80s movie. Like, feels like something you could put in a 2024 or 23 movie, and it would make sense as well as it does in the 80s. So I really like that. And I like that we keep getting these little flashes of Pearl because, like I talked about in my opening, that connective tissue's still there. I think the fact that Maxine beats Kevin Bacon's ass is awesome. I think that's a fun scene. And I think it's just a great kill of Leon, honestly. I've talked about it before because I believe we've had, maybe one more ear kill on our show that I can think of. Like, I know it's not the kill, but like someone else, I can't remember what movie it was, gets their ear ripped, and that just gives me all kinds of hives and heebie-jeebies and stuff, and it happened right here too. I thought the gore was good, and we could have maybe gone without ball explosion, testicle explosion, but we did need a little bit of a gore kick up here because the other films do have at least some kind of grotesque imagery or whatever. And I felt like, this movie was in need of it here. I think it's a good set of scenes. Probably one of the weaker sets of the film, though.
Yeah, it's really weird of Maxine to ask Leon if he could find out who made the tape. I mean, come on, get real. What are you expecting here? So I definitely agree. Cut that shit. It doesn't amount to anything. The only thing it does is it gives us an excuse to cut back to Leon in the videotape store later, but you could have just done that. We know that he's a character.
I'm guessing just because she's paranoid. Maybe they were just trying to show how paranoid she was. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you plan to gain from this, brother? So anyway, I got a good laugh out of the guard saying, "Yes, you are," when she said she's Maxine Minks. Fucking pervert. I love seeing the Bates Motel. Great nod to a movie that helped pave the way for the genre. And I love how she saw Pearl in the window as well. Like I said earlier, she's still battling her demons. Then she beat the absolute fuck out of Labatt. Holy moly. Like, damn. Fistful of keys, Wolverine style? That was crazy. I laughed when Teddy said to go home and learn your lines. Maxine must have thought he said go home and do some lines. But, it also got me thinking, if she would just sell her blows, she probably wouldn't have to work anymore. Seems like an endless supply there. I do love how the lines that she highlights in her script kind of coincide with what's happening with Leon. That was another thing that was really well done. But I will say, something about the effects on the back of his neck when it slashed just didn't look right to me. The blood looked weird, which maybe it's the lighting in that store, but it looked kind of fluorescent and not the right shade of red. And then the way his neck sliced open in the back there, it was a serrated blade, so maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know, it just didn't look right for me. But overall, shocking. Another set of scenes I loved.
Look, she needs to be careful with all that blow. I've seen Boogie Nights. I've seen what it can do to people. It's sad what it did to Marky Mark in that movie.
Nico's seen that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Exiting the video store after the murder of Leon, the killer enters the vehicle where Labatt is seated behind the wheel. Labatt praises him for being able to have the stomach to go all the way. The next morning, Maxine is awakened by the telephone as she laid amongst her script pages, seeming, to me, that it would make it harder to learn her lines with the scripts laying all around, willy-nilly, torn out. But hey, she had a kid with Shia LaBeouf. She can do anything. Teddy is on the phone and says he couldn't find anything on Labatt, but he will keep looking. The call is interrupted by sirens as she rushes out the door to find Leon's body being removed from the store. Upon seeing the body, MaXXXine rushes in slow motion, but is stopped by the detectives. At the police station, they try to goad MaXXXine into cooperating with them by showing her Amber and Tabby's body, but she continues to remain steadfast and say, "Fuck the police," or maybe the next girl should save herself. However, with Detective Maggie Hart making more of an impact than she originally believed. On the set of Puritan 2, MaXXXine meets the star of the first film, Molly Bennett, as she films the opening to Part 2. Molly tells her Liz is someone she needs to listen to if she wants a future in the business and mentions the same big party in the hills. While roaming the studios, Labatt finds her and chases her across the lot with a gun as MaXXXine runs into a psycho house, which, I don't know why I keep calling it the psycho house, Bates Motel, and Labatt is thwarted by security. Elizabeth catches her on the way off the back lot and tells her that whatever is going on in her life that's interfering with this picture, squash it, no matter what it takes. With Welcome to the Pleasure Dome playing in the background, we get a montage of MaXXXine getting ready for the evening and setting up something with Teddy. Later that night at the club, she tricks Labatt into following her into the bathroom and then outside. There, on the loading dock, Teddy and her friend Shepard ambush Labatt and knock him the fuck out. Go ahead.
All right, it's an emotional moment for MaXXXine seeing Leon's corpse on the gurney, and the song playing along is perfect. But I do agree with Dustin here. It's another callback to our reaction. There's no way that Maggie Hart is going to be revealing this guy's face in front of all these people. You're just traumatizing everyone, like every onlooker. And the irony of Detective Williams getting MaXXXine a Coke to drink, it doesn't miss me. I thought that was a nice little touch. Torres drops a bar. You Hollywood girls are so desperate to be famous, you don't even realize how easy it is to become infamous. I thought that was a great line. MaXXXine is laser focused on only protecting herself, which I get. She's gotten where she is on her own, so she feels like the next person should as well. Elizabeth, she's not fucking around with MaXXXine being late. And another great line delivered. We've all got blood on our hands now. MaXXXine can't seem to escape the guilt of her past. Great line and callback here by Lily Collins. Girls got to look out for one another, something like that. That's another callback to Pearl when Mitzi and Pearl tell that to each other. Us girls got to stick together. This is a fun-ass chase scene with Labatt and MaXXXine on set. Kevin Bacon is 66 years old as of now. You know he had to be thinking, I'm too old for this shit when he's chasing MaXXXine around this set. MaXXXine needs to work on her conditioning, though. Homegirl was sucking wind after that cat and mouse chase with Labatt. That girl was... She sounded like, what's her name? Lee Harker and damn long legs after going into the day. Breathing
and
heavy over here.
That's not the first time when her ass was going up that Hollywood sign, too. She was about to die.
Hey, man, I'm out of shape, too. Speaking of Labatt, I thought he had a great line with, I'm a lost ball and tall weeds today, dealing with the security guard. I thought that was great. Man, I think he has an insane amount of charisma. I appreciate the relationship between Elizabeth and MaXXXine. Both are up and coming, depending on one another. And Elizabeth, she's not fucking around with MaXXXine. Like, you do your job. Like, you're not going to ruin my career while gallivanting around not doing your job. I love MaXXXine's look at the club, and the vibes are immaculate. I'm going to be critical here, though, like I have been recently. I'm just not a fan of strobe lights in movies, these club kind of scenes. I'm not a risk of seizures, but they're just not pleasurable to me to watch. And fun fact, the DJ in there is Ty West's wife. And the bathrooms in this club are fucking gross. My goodness, people, they have no respect for one another. All right, go ahead, Mike. That's all I got.
Yeah. I think this interaction with Labatt and the killer is interesting because of what's going on in the background with the whole Night Stalker thing. So, like, is Labatt working for the Night Stalker? Like, how is all this connected? You're trying to piece it all together while you're watching it for the first time. I mean, again, like I said in our trailer reaction a long time ago, I always thought her dad would be involved somehow. I just wasn't sure when that was coming. So right now I'm convinced, well, Labatt, Night Stalker, how's this all working together? It at least kind of keeps me interested. I do think, but we get a very emotional scene for MaXXXine with Leon's death, finding that out. She's pretty cold to literally almost every other person in this film, even Elizabeth. Like, she listens to what Elizabeth says because she has to make it to the top. But there's no, like, real connection for her. With Leon, you could tell she built this bond that she actually trusted him to an extent, was her only, human connection that was real. And now he's gone. So you could, you get that portrayed through Mia Goth's acting. I thought it was really well done. And this kind of line of dialogue with the next girl, help the next girls, have the next girl help themselves. I think it's interesting because it definitely comes back into the film later. I have a line about that as well. And I love this scene. We all have blood on our hands where I think it's Molly Bennett, but Lily Collins, I think does a pretty good job here in this role. It's kind of fun to see her there. It's fun to see them make a movie while making a movie. Like, I like this, peek behind the curtain of them making The Puritan 2. Everyone treat The Puritan 2 like they're making fucking Shawshank Redemption is absolutely hilarious to me. But, hey, I get it. Nothing wrong with taking your craft seriously. I'm just saying it's pretty funny. I like this chase scene. I don't love this chase scene because I think it goes on pretty long. I think they just wanted to get long arching shots of the Universal backlot, if I had to be honest, and find a way to use Bates Motel, which I actually think it's underused because my man getting chased up the stairs by an officer, the chance to push him down the stairs is right there. Anyway, so I felt that was a little underwhelming, but it was still cool to see the Bates Motel and the imagery and have, MaXXXine actually in the house there, I think was pretty cool. This whatever it takes mentality, definitely some writing there by Ty West. I think maybe some commentary on the business he's in, where a lot of people do whatever it takes to make it to the top. I think he comes from a different perspective where a movie studio really took a chance on him, not one time, not two times, but three times now. And he's done it his way. I think there's some commentary there for sure. I don't like this club scene a lot either, Nico, for the same reason you said. I mean, I think MaXXXine, looks great here, but all this strobe light and stuff, I mean, I complained about it during our Blade 2 review, where I'm like, damn, this is a long ass club scene, man. But obviously this one isn't as long. Last thing I have, these toilets are fucking disgusting. And I think I mentioned that the last time we all went out in Tallahassee together. Nobody takes care of shit anymore, man. These, even the bathrooms at a local, I don't really want to hype them up because they're a great place, but their bathrooms are fucking disgusting. I'm just going to say it. No one at Madison Social is listening to this. Their bathrooms were fucking gross the last time I went there. Take care of your shit, people. That's all I'm saying.
So the first thing that I noticed is how long is her fucking phone cord? She walked all over her apartment and there's still plenty of slack. That is insane. Get real. The cops, yeah, Nico, you said it. I said it on the instant reaction. They would never have pulled back that sheet and showed that many people the dead body. That's absolutely unbelievable. Although it is Maggie Hart who does it, so maybe she would. She's bad all around. Torres turning up the heat when he was talking to MaXXXine. I mean, sheesh, tone it down a little bit there. The shooting of Puritan 2 looked awesome. I love movies within movies. And then we've all got blood on our hands. That's a great line, because if she only knew. The chase scene was wild. It reminded me of Scream 3. They're running through a set here, so I like that. And then when they run out of that building, I swear that was the courthouse from Back to the Future. I mean, the town square looked just like it. Great choice in having Elizabeth tell MaXXXine to squash her distraction, considering what we know happens to Labatt. Squash. The dogs, though, they annoy me. They serve no purpose. They didn't attack. They didn't track Labatt. They didn't attack Labatt. Nothing. All they did was lick his blood up. It was just pointless. Dobermans are intimidating looking dogs, but they didn't do anything. I laughed at MaXXXine's war paint in the club, though. She looked like Naru and Prey. And you guys have all said it, but I'll say it too. The bathrooms are absolutely disgusting. I would rather get killed by the Night Stalker than have to shit in one of those stalls. The only thing that I can think of as worse is if you had to shit when you're at Ken's Tavern in Tallahassee, because that bathroom doesn't even have a fucking door on it, and the toilet is in view of the dance floor.
Oh my god,
buddy! Poor Paul's was even worse, buddy.
So another great comedic moment was Labatt getting hit with a Jose Canseco bat. Tell me, you didn't pay money for this. Sorry, 2 weeks in a row. His ass dropped off that dock like a bag of rocks. It was awesome. So I like this set of scenes as well.
I was going to say something about the bathrooms at Doak Campbell Stadium, but that doesn't even compare to not having a door and being in view of the
brother. I think we all know, or we all expect, stadium bathrooms are going to be rough. Yeah. I mean, Neyland Stadium still has the piss troughs. And so you got
Yeah.
19,
So does the
20
swamp, I
guys
think.
squeezed in and one trough trying to piss. But Ken's Tavern in Tallahassee, I swear to God, I'll send you all a video. I was on the dance floor and I panned my camera around, and there's a dude taking a piss at the toilet in plain sight, like no door. It's wild.
Oh my gosh. Piss troughs. I thought you were supposed to wash your hands in that. Jesus.
And if you're a guy, you got to be smart there. As long as he isn't dropping draws, that's nasty. Come on.
At a local junkyard, Labatt wakes up handcuffed to his car, and it is not the good kind, ladies and gentlemen. He sees Maxine and tells her that she does indeed have the devil in her. Teddy, Maxine, and Shepard activate the trash compactor and smashes the fuck out of Labatt. Teddy tells Maxine to get lost as blood pours from Labatt's car. We cut to her apartment as Maxine looks at herself in the mirror after a shower and decides she's going to visit the address Labatt originally gave her after watching another murder on the local newscast and remembering her discussion with the detective about saving the next girl's life. On the way, we are shown her being followed by Torres and Williams as well, who are tailing her. Once at the house in the hills, Maxine hears a VCR come to life and she heads upstairs where she hears the film of her as a child playing that we saw at the start of the movie. She enters the room with the green doors and discovers the murders have been committed by her estranged father, a televangelist named Ernest Miller. He tells her he's making a film and that Maxine is the star. Miller reveals that he and his followers have been filming the murders to create a snuff film intended to expose Hollywood for what he sees as sinful and corrupting nature. During the explanation, a suitcase falls down the staircase and it is revealed that, in fact, he did kill and dismember Molly as well. Ernest then puts a bag over her head and suffocates her until she passes out despite the struggle. During the blackout, we're shown the opening flashback of the Puritan interview in black and white where she tells Elizabeth she's a star and that the whole world is getting to know her name. Go ahead.
Hey, before I get started, Brian, will you say murders again for me?
Murders.
You sound just like the fucking guy. Kevin Bacon, Labatt, he kills the scene that he's killed in. He contradicts all of his previous comments about being an atheist or being bought off with a quickness when he sees he's in the car compactor. I audibly laughed out loud when he started to pray in the theaters. That was hilarious. Shout out to Kevin Bacon. He was so good in this. After a few rewatches, I definitely take back my reaction comment about him possibly surviving this. When you watch this movie a few times, you can definitely tell folks got crushed in that car. That's a horrific way to die. Maxine getting to this house. Look, before I read this, I just thought of something. I want to give a shout out to James and Chelsea from their podcast on this show. It dropped yesterday. I thought they made a great point whenever Maxine is back at her apartment and she's watching the news about trying to save the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
They kind of made the point that Maxine's only going to go help the girls so she can become famous herself. I didn't think of that. Thought that was a great point.
Absolutely. I
Just want to
agree. I
shout
have
them
that
out
in
for
here
that.
too. Yep, for sure. Shout out to them.
Maxine getting to this house and up all the stairs, it drags out a little too long in my opinion. And I got I knew it once I heard the tape play of she and her father. It's crazy to me how Maxine freezes up when her father takes the gun from her. Is the moment getting too big? You're starting to piss down your leg. A lot of people online I've seen complain on the direction of this third act with the dad making a film. I think it's fine, and it's still a hot topic to this day, like Quiet on Set. I mean, it's very relevant still. But I still agree with Dustin as well. I think Lily Collins' prosthetic head, it looks good, but it had too much bounce, and it looked kind of rubbery falling to the bottom of the stairs.
Yep.
This irks me in real life, but if you're being smothered by plastic, don't fight the damn person. Poke a damn hole in it so you can breathe. Jesus. And you damn right, Maxine. Brian's talking about the flashback from the Puritan too. The whole world is going to know your name.
I love the scene where Labatt is killed off here. I think Kevin Bacon's great. He's got a bunch of one-liners that he kind of spouts off here, starts praying. I think he's hilarious. When you have a character like Labatt who's, a PI, but he plays it kind of for shits and gigs. You can't take it too serious. And I think even in this crushing the car scene, I think it was really well done. And I love the plan. It makes Maxine – it harkens back to her ability to kill like she shows in X. And I think her putting a plan together with these people, I think was a good choice. Like Nico mentioned, shout out to Demi, James, and Chelsea for pointing that out about, I think Maxine's only going to this house to be famous. Whatever it takes to be absolutely recognized by somebody, she's going to go try to save the day. and save these girls that are already dead. She doesn't know that, but they're already dead. So good luck with that. Is living up in the Hollywood sign, is that something that's real? Like, that's a real thing people do? I didn't think there were houses up there, brother. That's a lot of stairs. Like that, buddy, that's... I would also be gassed. I'd be more gassed than CM Punk last weekend. I'd be gassed. Shout out to CM Punk. Great match. Anyway, so here's the thing. I've seen people like Nico complain about this whole third act, this whole ending with her dad. And I think it's because I think it, at least in my mind, was pretty obvious it was going to be her dad at some point, just didn't know when. So once we got to this third act, I'm like, at some point, her dad will appear and be behind all of this. So I don't think I'm alone in that. Like, I think that's a pretty obvious thought that people had going into the film. So maybe a little bit of a letdown there for some people because it was obvious that people were expecting something a little bit bigger or a little bit more creative. But I think it's right there in front of you the whole time. It's going to be her dad. At the very end of X, I think that's a very clear signal that her dad will play a part in this next film, or eventually in one of these films. And, now he's making his own film because he's a fucking hypocrite piece of shit. He tries to be all righteous, and it turns out he's just an absolute fucking madman. I actually think I like this character. I think it works for me in the film. There's a couple things that don't, like in the next set of scenes, I think it drags a little bit for me, but outside of that, I think it's, this is a really good set of scenes, especially the death of Labatt there.
Yeah, great touch having Labatt, the atheist, start praying when he's dying. But to me, that card wasn't smashed enough for him to have been squashed enough to lose that much blood. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but seems like, he could have laid the seat down and probably lived through that. I don't really care for the flashback she has after she gets out of the shower. I don't know. It just seemed like filler to me. I do think they're well done, especially with the grainy look, but it just I could have done without them. My biggest question in the movie, why the hell did the detectives wait so long to follow MaXXXine up the hill? Like, they could have saved her a few bruises because she fell down or she got beat the fuck up, I guess. If they'd have been quicker about it, and maybe could have even saved a few lives if they get the drop on them and don't let it, spiral into a shootout. Very tense as she enters the house, though. There's shit laying all around, and it's quiet and it's dark. And then we hear the tapes of young MaXXXine, dramatic suspense. It's her dad, which, I think a lot of people may have called that, but still, it's well done. And great casting on him. Simon Prast, he just looks like a creepy, sleazy Southern pastor. Great casting there. I hated how that head, you said it, Nico. I hated how the head looked when it fell out of the suitcase. It looks great as far as the mold goes, but the way it bounced and the recoil on the skin, it just looked too fake. It looked like rubber. I do like the flashback here, though, because she's unconscious, so it makes more sense, and it's something that we didn't see earlier. Like, it's not just a recap of earlier events that we've already seen on the screen. So I'm excited for the finish.
Why did the detectives take so long? Well, Maggie had to fuck her partner's best friend real fast just because she was pissed off at him for something.
Yeah, she was fucking to hurt, not just, fucking for the hell of it. Harmless sex.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the ending. We open up with floodlights showing us that MaXXXine is tied to a tree for what is revealed to us and as an impromptu exorcism of sorts that Ernest films. Not Ernest goes to jail. That just, wow, okay. That Ernest films and once added to his movie for the whole world to see. Enter Detective Torres and Williams, who bust into the party via a lethal weapon shootout, killing Miller's cohorts and injuring Miller via a gunshot and setting himself on fire, and giving MaXXXine time to free herself using a hidden switchblade. She also uses the same switchblade to kill one of the cult members that tries to drown her. Williams, Torres, and MaXXXine set off to pursue Ernest up the hill to the Hollywood sign, with two detectives getting a bit of a head start. We heard gunshots as MaXXXine barely makes it up the hill, and we find Torres mortally wounded. Williams asks MaXXXine to stay with him and put pressure on the wound as she heads off to find Ernest. But after about 30 seconds, he takes his last breath, and MaXXXine sets off to find Williams. Oh, she does. And, well, she has a fucking cross in her eye and falls down the damn mountain. Armed with a shotgun, MaXXXine comes across her father under the H in the Hollywood sign, but is interrupted by a police helicopter telling her to drop her weapon. We then cut to a newscast vision of MaXXXine telling us that the Night Stalker killer has been killed and that MaXXXine is a celebrity, credited for helping stop her father as she attends the premiere of The Puritan 2 with fans chanting her name. An interview tells us that the MaXXXine Mink story is also under production, with Elizabeth Bender directing. We then cut back to the helicopter in real time, and while making him repeat his trademark phrase, she shoots him, telling him that he gave her all she needed, divine intervention. A title card tells us it's a month later, as we find Maxine in her trailer listening to a record and doing some more of the cocaines. Cutting a line with a Screen Actors Guild card and snorting it with a $100 bill, she's then interrupted by a crew member telling her that they're ready for her on set, and we cut to the crew clapping for Maxine on the set and taking a second of silence from Molly in remembrance. Elizabeth tells her she looks like a Hitchcock blonde and asks how it feels for her to be someone else. They discuss the turn of events and how Molly sadly wasn't a star, and asks her what she wants to do next now that she has everyone's attention. Maxine says she just never wants it to end, and we're taken away with Betty Davis eyes as we back out in a wide shot.
That song goes hard as hell. All right. Maxine's dad, Ernest, played by Simon Prast, he's so over the top, but he's been this way since X in that movie, so it doesn't bother me. However, I wouldn't argue with someone if they weren't like a fan of his portrayal. I wouldn't argue with it, but it doesn't bother me. Divine intervention, I think that's a great line, and it's another nice callback to X. I couldn't imagine how bad it would hurt to get stuck with a red-hot cattle prod. I think you could get me to snitch to anything if you were threatening me with that. Maggie Hart saves the day. Big shout-out to her. I know Dustin was super excited. Hell of a shootout scene. Wasn't expecting something like this in this movie, to be honest. I'm wondering, is this one guy aiming at Maxine, or is she just in the line of fire? Because Buddy is a terrible shot if he's trying to shoot Maxine. I laughed at the person leaping up and grabbing Maxine. It happened out of nowhere like Randy Orton. But it's a gnarly way to die, stabbing bro up his nostril. I thought that was a great kill. It might be the best kill if it wasn't for the one that's coming up pretty soon. I felt bad for Torres dying, and I was really caught off guard by Williams popping up out of nowhere with a cross stabbed into her eye. I know that didn't feel good. Badass scene with Maxine in the lights of the helicopter and her having these visions in her mind. I also love the trailer more after seeing the film. I think I mentioned this in our reaction. You know, they showed pivotal moments, but it was also out of order and out of context. It doesn't spoil the film, and I appreciate that. I will not accept a life I do not deserve. Facts, queen. But seriously, the shotgun blast to her daddy's head, it looks incredible. Best kill of the movie. I love that Maxine is using her SAG card to make the lines of her coat. She stays true to her craft, and I respect her game. Still a big nitpick that Dustin mentioned in our reaction. How is it 1 month later and she's still on this job? She was caught in 4K shooting her dad's head off. No charges, no court dates. I mean, there's got to be something going on that would keep you off that set for at least a month, right? You're a fucking movie star. Yes, you are, Maxine. I love that line. I love the ending. All Maxine wants is to stay a star, stay relevant. And like I just said at the beginning of this, I love Betty Davis Eyes. It's a great song to end the film and end the trilogy on.
Yeah. I do think this scene where all hell kind of breaks loose is pretty divisive. It would seem online. You know, you mentioned the portrayal of her dad being, it being over the top by Simon Prast. It's fine with me. Like you mentioned, I mean, it's been the character throughout since we first saw him in the tapes in X. So I don't think there's any deviation from the character there or anything. It works. And then all hell breaks loose and we start to get into like a little shootout. All these cult members are horrible shots. I mean, they can't fucking shoot a goddamn lick for the most part. And these detectives are trained shots, so it would make sense that they're better. And the fact that they come save the day, like you mentioned, Nico, it just wasn't a turn I was expecting from this movie. This whole part of this set of scenes was not, it wasn't on my list here of things I was expecting to see in the film. I was fine with it. Like, I thought it worked. I think, people falling in a pool and all that stuff, where it took place up by the Hollywood sign, I thought made for really cool visuals and shots. It doesn't surprise me that both detectives died because you were kind of split on them until this point in the film, right? Like, were they good cop, bad cop? Were they both bad cops? Like, what? Or did they have the best interest of everyone in mind? And I think they did. I think they actually were pretty good detectives that were just trying to do their job ultimately at the end of the day. And some cool ways to die anyway, as far as on film. I think the scene with Maxine and her dad was something that was a long time coming. I think it was, an amazing, amazingly cathartic kill for MaXXXine, for sure. I do think all these, flash forwards to the future that are kind of spliced in here, they're fine. Like, her walking the red carpet at the Chinese theater is a cool nod, a very insider Hollywood nod, for sure.
You called it flash forwards to the future. So was that really visions of the future or just something that was in her head?
So
I thought it was in her head.
I think it's up for
seen,
interpretation.
Yeah, that's the way I took it as well.
God damn A24 shit right there.
Because
God.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I could see if you watched it, you thought she's just thinking about that while hovering over her dad about to kill him. Like, I completely understand that. And honestly, if that's what they meant to do, they did a pretty good job. But in my head, I'm just thinking maybe it's already happening and they're just kind of cutting back and forth. But either way, I think it's pretty good. And then we get the scene. The scene in the trailer is great because that's how I would act as a movie star too, man. She went from doing lines of the cocaines and a fucking strip joint, making pennies on the dollar, to rolling that shit up in $100 bill and sticking it up her nostril. Proud of you, MaXXXine. That is a come up like I've never seen. And with a Screen Actors Guild card, just to rub it in people's faces. Yes, ma'am. A fucking queen. That's what I'm talking about. And I will say this little scene here at the end where it's her and Elizabeth talking. I honestly would, maybe I'm alone in this, but I honestly would have just rather them end the movie with MaXXXine hitting a bump of cocaine through a $100 bill and walking out of the trailer after saying, I'm a fucking movie star. That would have been really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And this little add-on at the end is fine. Song's great, but I feel like we could have probably cut it and just had go, I'm a fucking movie star. And
I agree.
We go to the credits. I think that would have been pretty cool. But other than that, that's a minor nitpick. I enjoyed this last set of scenes.
So if I woke up and I saw all these people in robes surrounding me, and I was tied to a tree, and one of them's got a fucking branding iron, I would definitely mic myself. Clean up aisle me. Clean up aisle me.
But it's the Ministry of Darkness, brother.
Yeah, it was me, Austin. But seriously, what took the detectives so long? Where the fuck are they at? Oh, there they are. About damn time. And honestly, the scene that follows that when they show up, it played out like a Grand Theft Auto scene. Like it's 10v2 and the 2 won easily. I did laugh when Buddy caught himself on fire. That was kind of funny. Torres does end up getting shot, but just like a GTA mission, it happens after the main part is over. It serves as like a cutscene to advance the mission. Like maybe it's because I'm replaying GTA 5 right now, but that came to mind. And then, hands down, the best part of the movie, seeing Detective Williams come around the corner, having been stabbed in the fucking face. Hell yeah, like that. Highly questionable decision to have MaXXXine kill her dad here, though. Like the helicopter's watching, and he's clearly not a threat anymore, so that's murder. She would have went to jail, not the nightly news. I think the ending works better if it's left for us to decide if that really happened, or maybe she dreamed all that, followed, and she was actually in the pokey. But the effects on his head exploding looked great, at least. Like that was awesome. But she did make it, apparently. She's a fucking star. She achieved her dream. She got what Pearl never could. So it's a nice feel-good conclusion to an outstanding trilogy.
All right, fellas. Mike, this is where you do the budget.
Thank you. This is where we do the budget.
I'm just kidding. All right. Social media.
I got the gram pulled up.
Go for it.
PT Hall 87 commented, I love this movie. I found the reveal predictable and disappointing, but I'm a sucker for an LA thriller and Hollywood story. That didn't bother me any. Okay. I feel you. Mm-hmm. Jesse Kraft commented, I love this one of the trilogy so far. I loved how it was shot and how the movie incorporated what was going on in 1985. It captured Hollywood at that time perfectly. I love the split screen shots, visuals, music. I also love the fact that most of the location shots were regular places I visit, especially Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Just the storyline was just okay and predictable. Do you guys think the story will continue? I don't think so. Ty West said in his Reddit AMA that it wasn't.
I hope not. I think I read somewhere that he had an idea of where he could take it, but I hope he just doesn't.
Yeah. Hey, let's do the second half of Boogie Nights, except with MaXXXine. There we go.
Yeah.
As long as we don't get, I don't want to see anyone's penis. Okay, so let's not do that.
You sure?
Anywho, Amanda Please 84 comment. That's a great name. I would not accept a life I do not deserve. Good movie, but great kills. Okay.
Okay.
And the last one I got is from
Deal with that.
Dale_Milburn. Has some amazing one-liners. However, I do think it's the weakest out of the X trilogy. Thought it really dropped the ball with the setting and vibe because I think it could have been a really good slasher movie if it had more chase scenes and even maybe made it the Night Stalker who was hunting down MaXXXine instead of her dad. I didn't get that plot twist at all. Okay. I feel you.
I take that the other way. I think if
yeah.
it was the Night Stalker, like that's too predictable. So, but
well, I think you're kind of smart to maybe not use a real life serial killer that tortured and scared the shit out of a lot of people in real life in this fictional world. I'm not so sure how smart that would have been.
Yeah.
Well, was that before or after he was going after Mr. Jingles and a bunch of kids at the camp?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Was this before he was, resurrected by the devil multiple times? I don't know.
Yeah. So that was real.
So, all right, I've got the artist formerly known as Twitter, aka X. Give us a follow if you don't on all social medias at Don't Go Out There. That guy, Millhouse 14108, said this was my most anticipated movie of 2024. I think it was that way for all of us, most of us at least. Ty West did an incredible job placing the time period as per usual. Mia Goth is phenomenal at everything she does. Watching her tenderize Kevin's bacon with a fistful of keys was cinematic fun.
Wait a minute. That was beautifully said.
I'm telling you, every week this guy. The movie delivered as promised, 9 out of 10.
All right, there we go, buddy.
Andrew Ferguson said, haven't seen it yet and will rent it, but you can bet your sweet ass that whenever I do rent it, the very next week it will debut on one of the 14 streaming services I subscribe to. That's how it goes, buddy. That's unfortunate.
That's true.
And then Randy Smith, Go Dogs, commented something I know Mike agrees with. Way overdue.
Well, there's nothing on the Book of Faces, so if you want to go ahead and jump into some fun facts, you guys have any of them? Some little trivia nuggets?
I got a few. In January 2024, actor James Hunter, who played a dead prisoner in the film, filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court against actress Mia Goth, director Ty West, and A24. Hunter alleged that Mia Goth assaulted him on the set of MaXXXine and sued all 3 defendants for wrongful termination. So maybe all publicity is not good publicity, but we didn't hear much about that.
Turns out that guy's a fucking weirdo scammer anyway.
Yeah. Quick disclaimer. There's been some articles that came out about him. He's a piece of shit, honestly.
Yeah, not so good.
Mia Goth said, in her opinion, this movie is the best story in the trilogy. I agree. So argue with her, Nico.
I will.
Pearl is better. I said what I said.
X is better. What the fuck?
MaXXXine, and here's to address what you said, Mike. MaXXXine was originally developed as the end of the trilogy. Ty West later stated in February 2024 that he has plans for a 4th film, which would depend on the 3rd film's reception. But in May of 2024, he confirmed that he was working on a 4th film that he may develop as his next project. But then in August, in a Reddit Ask Me Anything, he said he's happy with where he left it, and he's going to have it remain a trilogy. So good. And then the last one I've got, Kevin Bacon. He was in Wild Things with Nev Campbell, who was in the Scream franchise with David Arquette. Go ahead. Easy.
Yeah, so that's the easy route right there, buddy.
Layup.
It's funny, too, because I've been, for a long time, I've been doing basically the 6 degrees of separation with David Arquette when it's famous
the
6 degrees Kevin Bacon.
Right. Yeah. Okay, it's time for the budget. Didn't fucking forget. All of you guys can go fuck yourself. I wanted to get to the jokes before you guys did. Yep, that's what you get for fucking bullying me on this show. MaXXXine was made for, this shocked me, by the way, $1 million. That's it. Like, that really surprises the piss out of me. And I cross-checked multiple sources just to make sure I was reading it correctly. $1 million. That's interesting. I know A24 is a smaller studio, but damn, that's a pretty low budget right there.
Fucking Civil War took all the money. Piece of shit.
I guess you're right. But on that note, MaXXXine reaped in a cool $19.4 million after everything was all settled and done. Its initial run made around 15. Then we went worldwide. We were sitting around $19.4 million.
I don't buy that.
$1 million budget.
I ain't buying it. I don't buy $1 million. I don't buy it.
Dude, I checked 4 different sources.
I believe that that's what's been reported. I do not believe that that's actually the case. Bullshit.
Maybe filming in Hollywood's not cheap.
Yeah. Plus, they got fucking Kevin Bacon in the movie, and Giancarlo
Yeah, he was
Esposito.
$1 million by himself.
Halsey.
Which
Yeah,
I think Halsey probably
I'm
didn't
just
have a
telling
big
you.
price tag because she's not known for movies. She's a pop star. And
Yeah,
my
but the
wife.
thing is, like, we kind of mentioned, like, getting, like, influencers and, like, big name, like, Instagram people and all that in your movies. Like, Lily Collins is Phil Collins' daughter, for Pete's sake, and she's got, like, 22 million followers on the gram. Like, she's really famous, low-key, and I didn't even know she was Phil Collins' daughter until I looked it up.
I didn't either.
So, I mean, I feel like they're going to have a decent price tag just for their
for
advertising
Pete's sake,
ability.
For Pete's sake, made me laugh.
For Pete's sake.
Did I say that for real? Oh, my. Let's get to the favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. You want to go ahead, Mike?
Fuck yeah, I gotta go to bed, brother. I'm getting up early as shit.
You got soft hands, brother.
I do. I got real soft hands. I got soft hands. Boy, my hands are lotiony, smell like sweet pea. Anyway, hey, buddy, that's good.
Whoa.
Brother. That's a great smell. Anyway, my favorite kill was kind of hard because I do think there's a couple good kills. I think Leon's good. I think ultimately the one I wanted to see the most happen, which was MaXXXine kill her dad. So from that standpoint, I think that's going to be my favorite kill. My least favorite kill is my man getting his fucking balls exploded because it was so realistic, and they shot it from. I'm gonna assume Mr. Ballless Man bled out to death. That's where I'm at with it.
I want to die.
Buddy, I'd want to die if that happened to me. You could just fucking end me right there. So that's my least favorite kill. Kind of said everything I needed to in my open. I think this is a great follow-up. I love this trilogy. I love what Ty West has done. 3 very original horror movies, which we talk about it a lot, where we like these franchises, because obviously the logo that we have for this show is literally the 3 biggest horror franchises of all time. So when we get, good franchise stuff, I think it's fun. But here we have original IPs. While it's a trilogy, they're all very different. It's not X1, X2, and X3. It's 3 very different movies with continuity and connective tissue, and I love that idea. I think it makes for a lot of fun. Love the way this one's written. I love the backdrop of it being in the 80s to get a different feel, way different from Pearl and different from X as well. Acting great, cinematography great as always. I think from top to bottom, this is a really good movie. I went back and looked because I never do. I gave X a 9.5. I gave Pearl a 9. And I go back and forth on which one I like more between MaXXXine and Pearl. So just to even out that score there, I'm going to also give MaXXXine a 9.
Okay. Mike, you said something there that got me thinking this is not X1, X2, X3. I was like, damn, X2, that's an X-Men movie. And then X3, that's Triple X with Vin Diesel. What if that was a trilogy? X2. Anyway, let me go ahead and knock mine out real quick. My favorite kill, look, the effects on her dad were fantastic. But who else could it be? It's Detective Williams. I've been waiting so long to see that. So that's a good one. Least favorite kill was Tabby. I mean, Halsey wasn't on screen enough. I'm selfish, so hated that. As far as the rating, this is my favorite in the franchise. It's such a fun movie to me. It's well made. We've already praised it enough, so I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I gave it an 8.5.
Okay.
I'll go next, Brian. Favorite kill, I'm going with Dad. I mean, the gunshot to the head. I mean, it looks amazing. It's some really great effects. Least favorite kill, I'm kind of going a few different routes, but I'm gonna go with Lily Collins just because we don't see it, and like Dustin's mentioned and I mentioned, the bouncing head just kind of bothers me. It looks like a basketball for Pete's sake. I said it again. God dang it. I enjoy this whole trilogy as well. This is my least favorite. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It's Mia Goth is great. I'm glad she got to do these movies. She got to prove that she's a star. I'm excited to see what she's going to be in the future, except in Infinity Pool, respectfully, with all due respect. I don't know if y'all seen Infinity Pool, but the movie's not that great. She was good in it. Yeah. Did you like it?
I've seen it. I mean, I think I told you after when I first watched it, I wasn't a big fan of it. I was like, what the fuck?
Hey, we're in this together, brother.
I want y'all to go watch High Life. She's in it, and Robert Pattinson, A24. I want y'all to go watch that. Talk about a weird movie, man.
I'm in.
Talk about a weird
Say
movie.
less.
This guy in
Any-
weird movies.
I love the setting. Hollywood, 80s. I think it was great. I've kind of mentioned my qualms throughout, just some stuff that just doesn't make sense, some things that could have been tidied up a little bit. And honestly, I know this is probably a weird nitpick, but just depending on my mood when I watch the movie, I kind of feel like it does have pacing issues sometimes. Sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. But I still love the movie. I gave it 8.5 as well.
Okay, my favorite kill is Labatt, and my least favorite kill really was just any of the ones off screen. Listen, I'm going to go off script a little bit here. I've talked enough tonight, and while y'all were talking, I was actually thinking of a way to bring back Blockbuster. And listen, I think I have $1 million idea right here.
Let's do it.
I literally just thought about it. At work, we're implementing two-factor authentication, so it's fresh on my mind. What if you went to Blockbuster, and instead of a DVD or a Blu-ray being in the case, that you rented the case and inside was one of those two-factor authentication like little codes that once you get back to your house, you have to put in to be able to stream the movie from blockbuster.com. Best of both worlds. Just got to somehow make it maybe cheaper than streaming, but the key fobs are expensive as hell in real life, so I don't know.
And also, when you rent a movie on Prime, you've got 48 hours from the time you rent it. So like you could even do that. The code expires. That's a good idea.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe. Hey, Blockbuster, the one Blockbuster is still open. Give me a call. Anyway, let's see. I gave X an 8.5, and I'm actually going to give this one a 9. So now I have two A24 movies in a row that I've given a 9 or above. Who doesn't like A24 movies? It's not me. Not me. I love them.
That's right. All right. So that gives us
pick the good ones.
We try to tell you. We just so happen to pick ones you didn't like. But I've seen 160. I've seen 163 of them things. Most of them are good. Our composite score for this one is an 8.75. Hell yeah, I'd love to see it. IMDb has it as a 6.5. Haters. Rotten Tomatoes a little bit better at 72%.
Before we jump into final thoughts, Brian, what would you rate Iron Claw 1 to 10?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's sad, but it's a good movie.
I'd give it a 6.75, something like that. It's not to me. I mean, it's not. Look, I liked it. It was fine, but I was a little bit probably overrated, I think, by you guys. But whatever. That's just my thoughts. I mean, I liked it.
I regret asking
That's
that.
not a
Dustin.
bad movie.
I do too.
Just cut that out. Like the whole vibe just got. All right, let me shout out our blood donors.
What's wrong with a 6.75, man? That's a good score.
Okay.
I don't even want to be here no more. Okay. Let's shout out our blood donors, legendary blood donor, Dana Tucker, 3 times. Appreciate you, Dana. Camper Level Reoccurring, Nina, Horror Movie Crew Podcast, Alex Seligson, Michael Evans, and Steve Schmidt. Camp Counselor Reoccurring, Edward Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Shan, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Thorne David Phillips, Heather Superduck, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home Pod, Dana Tucker, and Cole McAlexander. We really appreciate y'all listening. Means a lot to us. I say it every week. You really do take a big burden off of us, help us pay the bills to make this show because it's not free, so we appreciate it. Next week is my pick in A24 month. I actually bounced around a few different ideas, and when Dustin announced his next theme, I changed my pick back to my original pick, which is 2019's Saint Maud, Rose Glasses directorial debut. I really like her second movie a lot, Love Lies Bleeding. I think Saint Maud is okay, but I'm excited to review it.
I don't think Brian will like it, but yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't know. We'll see. He might.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I don't think so, brother. Anyway, we appreciate you listening. If you're a fan of MaXXXine, comment on our post. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody.